Great. So welcome again to our workshop on intro into the Toucan protocol with Alex here. Alex will be given an intro on the ecosystem and how the protocol works. Feel free to ask any questions in the meantime in the chat, and we will take questions at the end also. Alex, I'll let you take the stage.
Awesome. So hey there, guys, to everybody. I'm Alex. And let's first kind of explain to you guys and show you guys how Toucan works. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is first off with just traditional carbon credits. Could you guys just say yeah, we're familiar or not in the chat? If nobody answers, I'm obviously gonna assume nobody is familiar. Okay, so just a little bit. Okay, I guess I should explain them quickly. So the idea is that there are different projects in the world where people, this is very roughly and very simply explanation for dummies, where people plant trees or do different things to either offset or capture carbon from the atmosphere. And then these projects get verified by institutions like Vera, and they create these certificates which can then be sold on the traditional markets over the counter. And what we do at Toucan is we take these carbon credits that are off-chain. People are supposed to retire them. We verify that they are retired. So when you retire something, it means you've basically canceled it. There's no more trading. It's gone forever, right? And we want to take them on-chain where they are far more liquid. It's not just over the counter anymore. Now it's all on chain, and it's much easier to trade them or to exchange them for different pools, which are then much more liquid. And let me just show you kind of how you would do that in the test. And you can actually play with this yourself. You can go here, test.toucan.earth, and you can play with this yourself. So let's launch the app. You're going to need to have a MetaMask wallet like I do right here. You have to connect your wallet. This is actually only on Polygon and on Mumbai. So the test.toucan.earth is on Mumbai, and then the mainnet is Polygon. And the reason why we chose Polygon is because it actually uses a lot less electricity. It's a lot more efficient, and as such emits much less CO2 than Ethereum mainnet. We're actually working with some teams to establish exactly how much CO2 is emitted per transactions, but that's kind of a different discussion. This is, once you connect your wallet, the dashboard that you're going to see in the main Toucan app. And you can see different stats like how much the CO2 was bridged up until now. But basically what you would do is you would initiate bridging as a normal user. I mean, you would pick your provider. You can see we only have Vera. Vera is the only institution that we work with right now, but we are indeed planning to bring other institutions and registries so that people can bridge credits from a bunch of other places. Obviously, you're going to see that you have access to the registry because you actually, as I said, you have to go to the app of your registry, so to the app in Vera, and you have to retire your off-chain credits. Once that's done, you confirm this transaction, and you will go through this process, which essentially, as I said, it verifies that you've actually retired that certificate off-chain. And then once this is done, you will have credits right here. You will see in a second. You're going to see in here that you have your serial. You can't really see it because of the chat. Just a second. Just a second. Okay, now. And basically, whenever you get a carbon certificate, you will have a serial number that looks like these ones right here that I've used previously. I don't have one right now, and it would take me a second to get one, but I can show you how you could get one in the test network. You would go to this link right here, which I'm actually going to put in the chat. And in here, you can actually use this subgraph to get a lot of data about all sorts of batch tokens and things, but you can use this subgraph to get serial numbers like these ones, and to use that to actually bridge like fake projects and get TCO2. This is one way you can get TCO2, but what I've actually done, and I think it'd be super useful for you guys which are hacking, is I made a faucet here, because one thing that you should take into account is that obviously these serial numbers and whether they are retired or not are actually manually verified for now by third parties. We aim to change that in the future, but you can go to this faucet right here, and once you connect your wallet right here, you can get different TCO2s. You can get BCT and NCT as well. We're going to explain BCT and NCT in a moment. So this would be the process that a normal user uses. But another thing, now obviously you guys are going to actually use Mumbai, so you're probably not going to use Sushi on Mumbai to swap, but a lot of our users actually don't retire their own TCO2 credits, but instead go to Sushi to get BCT and NCT, and then use that to get TCO2 or whatever they have to do. So once you put in, just to kind of get back on track, once you put in your serial number, you confirm the serials, and then you're going to have to wait for, it might be a few hours, it might be a few days even sometimes. That's why I made the TCO2 faucet, to get your TCO2 bridged. Once it's bridged, you're going to see in here these things as I have them, and exactly which balances you have of which. And you can click on add to wallet to import the token to your wallet. I already have it imported. And that's how the normal user would bridge something. Now, are there any questions about bridging? Or about how you guys would do it in a test environment?
Hi, Alex.
Hello.
I have a general question. I don't understand the purpose. I understood what is the carbon credit market, and that why I would want to retire some credits. Can you quick introduce the process? Why we are doing that?
So why are you retiring TC like carbon to retire it, or why are you retiring it to bridge it?
The first one, I mean, I'm a user. I can get some carbon credits. Why I would like that to retire?
Basically, it's to help the environment, right? It's to help clean up the air, because every kilogram or ton of CO2 that you retire is basically just offset from the Earth atmosphere. There's a project somewhere that, as I said, planted some trees or has done something to otherwise offset or capture CO2 from the air. They created this verified project. You can trade it. That doesn't really help the climate. But once you do retire it, it's basically like you removed that amount of CO2 and you paid to remove that amount of CO2.
Okay.
And essentially,
yeah,
go ahead.
Then if I get some carbon credits, I have two options. Once I can trade them or I can retire them. Then is my decision. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
So a lot of companies, because you might want to ask, why does a company even want, or somebody even want to retire their carbon tokens? You want to retire them if you're an individual and you care about the climate change. Obviously, like for example, I want to make a calculator. This is like a personal project of mine that I want to do. I want to calculate how much CO2 my car emits, and then I want to retire it every year. I think that would be pretty cool, because, you know, if you care about climate change, that's helpful. And companies in general, especially like corporate companies, they want to retire for PR, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. But if they can show, hey, we have, for example, this private airplane that we have used and we have emitted X amount of tons of CO2, but we have offset this amount, It's just good PR for them. Any further questions with what we've explained up until now? Okay, so if that's good, then if you, as I said, just bridged your TCO2, now you will have these projects right here, just like I have them. And what you can do, obviously you can offset them or retire them right here. This means they're gone and it just helps the climate. But another thing that you can do is you can go right here and you can deposit your TCO2 into a pool like BCT and NCT, these two are offered by us. They do have certain requirements. So for example, BCT has these pool criteria. It has to be a VCS, it has to have gold standard, and it has to be a project from 2008 or newer. And you can put, for example, 10 TCO2s. You have to approve it first. Obviously, you can pick a different TCO2 if you want to use a different TCO2, like if you have multiple ones. But generally speaking, like as a normal user, you would like to put in the lowest quality TCO2 that you have that fits the criteria of the pool, right? Once this is approved, you can deposit the TCO2, and then you will receive base carbon ton, the token, like the BCT. And it's going to hold, like the actual pool contract is going to hold the TCO2 in it. So you can actually, at a later date, if you have TCO2, you can come, or no, wait, if you have BCT, you can click here on redeem TCO2. And what it's going to do, you're going to basically give BCT and you're going to get back TCO2. Now, there's two ways to do that. You can use the automatic redemption method, which essentially means that the BCT pool is going to give you back the lowest quality TCO2 that it has in it. This is free. There's no fees for this. If you want to select what TCO2s you want to receive from the pool, from what's available in the pool, then this is actually going to cost you 25%. So you're not going to give one BCT and get one TCO2. You're going to give one BCT and you're going to get back 0.75 TCO2. And this is how you would exchange your BCT for TCO2. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, why do we need BCT or NCT? I'm thinking you probably think that. Well, there's like these TCO2s, these projects, now they're on chain. They are definitely more tradable than when they were off chain and it was a piece of paper and you had to do it over the counter. Yes, they are more tradable and more liquid, but they're still all different. Like this one is from 2018, this one is from 2014. They're all different. They're not exactly easily exchangeable and tradable. But once you put them in a pool that has certain criteria, what essentially will happen is that pool, this is why we have different pools. For example, the NCT one, as you can see, has criteria to be 2012 and newer, and it includes certain methodologies which are explained right here. But essentially, what a pool does is it collects a bunch of TCO2s that are similar, and then it gives you back that pool token. And now, essentially, this is so much more liquid. I'm not sure if that's clear, but I can kind of try to re-explain it. Are you guys understanding why we need pools and why they're good?
Sorry, Alex, for taking again the conversation, but exactly, if I have 10 CO2 carbon credits and they are my carbon credits, I deposit in BCT and afterwards I redeem from BCT. What I win with? What would I do that?
Yeah, so let me just. So basically, because BCT is a pool that collects from a bunch of TCO2s that are similar, it's essentially more liquid. And for example, it could be used in different DeFi protocols. It's much easier to trade it. It's much easier to send it because it's all the same. right? It's got the same criteria, and that is just yeah, liquid is the perfect word. It's much more liquid.
Okay, it's a kind of
It's
we wrap our carbon credits in a kind of tradable token.
yeah, that's a very good
Good.
explanation. And it's basically like a lot of projects, because I know you guys want to hack on top of what we build. Like we have projects that, for example, take BCT or NCT and they bind it to an NFT, or they take it and they use it to trade something, or they, I mean, there's different things you can do like that. I think I even talked to a team that wanted to do something some sort of a DeFi protocol where you could like take a loan based on NCT. So there's all sorts of things you can build on top of BCT and NCT that you couldn't really build on TCO2s, because they do have different attributes, and they're more unique and not as easily exchangeable with each other. This is pretty much what the main Toucan app has to offer. You either bridge TCO2, you can offset it, retire it, you help decline it, or you can exchange it for BCT. That's far more liquid, and then you can do other stuff with it. Let me show you guys Sushi, because you can actually go to Sushi and you can exchange. Let me just move over to Polygon, to the mainnet. If you want to work with Sushi in your projects for this hackathon, you will have to actually fork the Polygon mainnet. You cannot work with Mumbai because Sushi doesn't have their contracts on Mumbai. But basically, you can actually exchange USDC for either BCT or NCT if you want to do that. Now, obviously, if you guys want to use the Mumbai to build something, as I said, you can use the Faucet. That's probably easier for you. But you can always go to Sushi and exchange USDC for BCT. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, right here. So you can just go here, you can exchange it, or you can actually do it programmatically too. And this is why I wanted to kind of show you guys this example implementations repo right here. Let me actually put it in the chat too. In here, you will see this contract that I've made that basically it abstracts a lot of the process to offset TCO2. So normally, as I've just shown you, to get TCO2, you either have to bridge it, so you would have to have an off-chain contract, or you have to go get USDC from Kraken or whatever you're going to use. Then you have to take that and go to Sushi and exchange that for BCT or NCT. You would have to come back into our app, exchange that for TCO2. Then you would have to retire it. A lot of steps, as you can see. So I've made this contract as an example, but it's actually going to be used in production pretty soon too, where basically you have this auto offset method that takes in your USDC and programmatically redeems it for BCT, NCT, and then retires the TCO2. And you can take a look at it and see an examples of how I use Sushi to swap for BCT, of how you would interact on chain with redeeming and with retiring, because there's different functions that you can use. There's also right here in the README an explanation of the main functions and how they work. So I think this would be a pretty good inspiration for you guys to use in your projects. Yeah, this should be it. I guess I can also show you the contract offsetter is another little piece of inspiration. But if you do have any questions about the repo or about Sushi, go ahead and ask me, and then I'll present you the contract offsetter. because nobody has any questions about this so far. So this is a contract offsetter I have presented at eDenver actually too. And what it does is it uses the Polygon Scan API to look at all your transactions. And then it calculates on the front end how much TCO2 you have used previously. And then you can use our contracts to retire it. So let's move back to Polygon Mumbai. Let's connect my wallet because this is actually on Mumbai because it's not using Sushi. You can load your transactions. And you can see you have all my transactions right here. And the ones that it says true, it means I've already offset them. And the ones that it says false, it means I haven't offset them yet. And it tells me right here how much gas I've ever used. It tells me how much I have previously offset because I have used this app before. It tells me how much it would cost in kilograms of CO2 to offset these false transactions that are not offset. And here, how much it would cost in actually TCO2, because TCO2 is actually 1 TCO2 equals 1 ton of carbon from the air. And basically, you would just go through the process of depositing either TCO2 or BCT. If you deposit BCT, you can redeem it right here for other TCO2. And then you'd come to the dashboard, load your transactions, and click what TCO2 you want to use and offset it. I'm not sure how good we are on time, but obviously this is not super amazingly hard. So I don't think we should just wait for like the transactions to happen just to not waste time, but it's a fairly basic dApp. And if you guys have any questions, I can answer them. But if you have no questions, otherwise, I would love for you guys, we have a few more minutes. Okay, can you plug this into a smart contract tracking on-chain transaction from a smart contract someone else has deployed? So we've actually talked about how you could track on-chain transactions from a smart contract pre-Denver. It's complicated. You can do it, but it's pretty complicated, and we just completely left that idea behind because we felt like tracking transactions is far easier off-chain when they're already done. But yeah, technically you can. So since we have a few more minutes, if you guys have like any questions about what I've presented so far, or if you guys have any ideas of what you would like to build on top of us, I can just help you, give you some guidance.
Hi, Alex. Javier here again.
Hello.
To understand exactly what you show us in your app, actually, you are scanning all transactions for an account. You are putting this transaction in a database, and then you are telling him how much it will cost to offset all of the energy that he has used for these transactions.
Yes.
And if he redeem, then you update your database, and the next time it will show that he has less transactions to redeem.
Like the concept that you said is perfectly right, but actually what I have done for that project is to store the last nonce of the offset transaction on chain, so it couldn't be changed by a centralized database. So everything that you said is correct, but we don't store what was offset in a database. We store what was offset on chain.
Okay, correct. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if there are no questions, like I'm just gonna throw a few ideas out there of cool things that you can build with what I've presented so far. As I said, we have, could you just explain what you mean by off-chain then on-chain again? Like carbon credits, how they are off-chain versus off-chain transactions. Oh, about the app, okay. So basically, you see that these are all false. whereas these are true. So obviously you have to store somewhere that these have been offset and these haven't been offset. One way you could have done that is if you had like a centralized SQL database which stores, hey, transaction with the nonce 919 or 918 for this address has been offset or not. You could do that in a normal traditional database, or you could do it on chain in the blockchain. Let me see, because I actually have the contract for that app because it's a different contract. I think it should be somewhere in my repos right here. Eco1, this is it. Contracts, contract offsetter. This is it basically. And I think I'm actually going to find it in the POC. Yeah, it's the POC. Okay. So this is like what the contract, this is precisely the contract behind this app. And basically, let me see if I can find last offset. So it's not this one, is it this other one? Okay, forgive me, guys. Okay, yeah, it's this one actually. So right here. Basically, as I said, yeah, you could store which transaction was offset or not in a database, or you could store it on chain in this contract. So this contract right here with this mapping, last offset nonce, remembers, hey, 918 is the last transaction that has been offset. And so these above, since they are newer, they're not offset yet, and these below are offset. And that's how we remember which are offset or not offset in this particular project. You could do it in a database, but I felt it's more Web3 if I store it on chain. I felt that's cooler, right? Is there gas fees for tracking all the data on chain? So basically any view method that you call where you only read data is completely free. Any like method where you input data or state or change something in the blockchain is paid. So there will be no gas fees. Whenever I click, for example, here on, let me connect my wallet back again. Whenever I click on load my transactions, there are 0 fees for doing this. When I want to deposit, when I want to offset, when I want to redeem, there are fees for that. There are gas fees for that.
That's great, Alex. Thanks for the session. And if there's any more questions, feel free to follow up over Discord. It's sponsor Toucan, and that's where you'll find Alex as well. So, thanks, everybody.
Yep. The ideas. Oh yeah. You know what? Since we don't have a lot of time, let's take this to the Discord chat. I'm available there during European afternoons and evenings.
Great. Thanks.